The Gotham Film Awards are supposed to be the night where Hollywood shines at its brightest. Red carpets stretch like rivers of gold, cameras flash in perfect sync, and the air is charged with excitement. Celebrities glide past in designer gowns and tailored suits, every smile meticulously calculated, every step a moment destined for the tabloids. And for most attendees, it is a night of celebration, glamour, and applause. Before we continue, please hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and turn on the notification bell for updates. But what happened in 2025 when Harry and Meghan made their entrance turned that night into something else entirely. A spectacle of jeers, boos, and chaos that no one could have predicted. Imagine stepping into a room where the world watches, expecting applause, and instead, you are met with contempt so loud it rattles your very soul. Can you picture it? The red carpet was no longer a path to admiration. It had become a gauntlet. From the moment the couple's limousine pulled up, there was an electric tension in the air. The cameras clicked frantically, capturing every angle of the car's sleek movement, every glimmer of paparazzi flash reflecting off the glossy black exterior. But something was off. Whispers traveled through the crowd, subtle, almost imperceptible at first, yet growing in intensity. A murmur here, a stifled laugh there. Something was brewing beneath the polished surface of this glittering event, and by the time Harry and Meghan stepped out, the subtlety of those whispers had transformed into a roar of disapproval. The public has followed Harry and Meghan's story for years. From their fairy tale wedding to the headlines surrounding interviews, documentaries, and the controversies that followed, the couple has always lived under an unforgiving microscope. But even in a world saturated with celebrity scandals, the reaction at the Gotham Film Awards shocked everyone. You might ask, why would an audience boo and heckle a couple known worldwide, whose every public appearance is carefully staged, scripted, and managed? The answer is more complex than a single headline or a fleeting social media outrage. It's a combination of history, timing, perception, and, yes, a very public fascination with scandal that few could resist. Think back to the last time you witnessed a celebrity completely humiliated in public. Chances are, it involved a misstep or a wardrobe malfunction. But this was different. There was no misstep, no accidental faux pas. Harry and Meghan did nothing in those first seconds on the red carpet to provoke laughter or ridicule. Yet the reaction was immediate and intense. As Harry extended a hand to Meghan, guiding her carefully in the glittering gown, the crowd erupted in boos. Hecklers shouted from behind velvet ropes, their voices piercing through the carefully orchestrated soundtrack of camera shutters and background music. The scene was almost surreal, a moment where fantasy collided with reality in the most unforgiving way possible. Let's pause and consider the stakes. Why does this matter? The Gotham Film Awards is more than a party. It is a cultural litmus test, a reflection of influence, reputation, and clout. For Harry and Meghan, this was meant to be a moment to assert relevance in Hollywood, to maintain their celebrity status and carefully curated public image. Instead, it became a stage for public judgment. Every eye was on them. Every camera lens was a witness to the moment when admiration turned into scorn. The reaction didn't just signify disapproval. It sent a ripple through Hollywood, social media, and international media outlets, creating a storm of commentary, speculation, and debate. Now, think about the emotional weight on their shoulders. Imagine walking onto a red carpet, knowing the world is watching, expecting applause, smiles, and validation. And instead, being confronted with an audience's outright hostility. The humiliation is palpable. The tension between Harry and Meghan was tangible, almost electric. Their eyes flicked toward each other, a silent communication passing between them. A mix of disbelief, concern, and a determination to navigate this unprecedented moment. But navigating it would not be simple. The cameras caught every raised eyebrow, every forced smile, every subtle gesture that betrayed their composure. And then there was the element no one could have predicted, the crowd itself. Not every reaction was spontaneous. Some of it felt orchestrated, as if the audience, fueled by years of public opinion, knew exactly how to express collective disapproval. Whistles, jeers, and scattered laughter punctuated the flashes of the cameras. Yet, amidst the chaos, There were pockets of support, subtle but noticeable, a few applauding fans, some allies trying to offset the negativity. But the noise of disapproval was overwhelming, and the optics of that first moment would define the narrative for the rest of the evening. Have you ever wondered how a single public moment can redefine an image built over years? Harry and Meghan's reputation, meticulously constructed through charity work, media appearances, and Hollywood ventures, faced immediate recalibration. The boos weren't just noise, they were judgment, a verdict on their public persona, their decisions, and even their very presence. And in a world where perception often outweighs reality, this moment carried the weight of 1,000 headlines. As we dive deeper into this story, you'll learn about the moments no one saw on live television. Behind the glitz and glitter of the red carpet, chaos reigned. Security teams scrambled, unsure how to protect the couple from verbal attacks. PR strategists whispered frantic advice into earpieces, trying to manage the optics in real time. Paparazzi cameras captured every forced smile, every cautious step, and every glance toward the crowd that spoke volumes without words. These are the details that define the night, yet were barely reported in mainstream coverage. The real story was in the tension, in the raw human emotion, in the collision of expectation and reality. But what made this night even more extraordinary was the timing. The year 2025 marked several anniversaries and milestones in both the royal and celebrity world. Fans and critics alike were watching for patterns, for evidence of change, for signs that Harry and Meghan had evolved or not. And the Gotham Film Awards, a seemingly ordinary Hollywood event, became a magnifying glass under which every decision, every movement, every interaction was analyzed, debated, and broadcast to millions worldwide. The stakes were enormous, and the consequences would be felt long after the cameras stopped rolling. Here's a surprising fact. Despite the public backlash, Harry and Meghan remained calm, composed, and, in some moments, defiant. Their body language communicated resilience even as the noise intensified around them. But resilience is a fragile thing when faced with overwhelming opposition, and the audience's reactions were far from uniform. Some parts of the crowd seemed almost to revel in the spectacle, while others looked genuinely shocked, unsure whether to intervene or watch silently. The tension was almost theatrical in its perfection. The audience itself became a character in this unfolding drama. So why are we telling you all this? Because understanding this moment goes beyond gossip. It's about human behavior, social dynamics, and the power of perception. How quickly admiration can turn to scorn. How carefully curated images can crumble in an instant. And most importantly, how public moments like these can define careers, shape legacies, and spark conversations that ripple across the world. The entrance of Harry and Meghan at the Gotham Film Awards was not just a red carpet event. It was a live study in human judgment, media influence, and the volatility of fame. And now, here's where it gets even more intriguing. The crowd's reaction was only the beginning. Behind the scenes, whispers began circulating about conflicts, unusual security protocols, and interactions that would remain hidden from public view for hours. Some insiders hinted at arguments between organizers and the couple's team. Others mentioned moments when certain attendees deliberately positioned themselves to provoke reactions. And then, there were the cameras, capturing everything, but only what the public eye could see. What wasn't captured, what wasn't broadcast, would turn out to be even more shocking. But what came next would change everything, and no one saw it coming. The red carpet stretched like a golden river beneath the evening sky, lined with flashing cameras and velvet ropes that promised glamour but delivered tension. Imagine standing there, the world watching, hearts pounding, breath shallow, every eye focused on you. That was Harry and Meghan at the Gotham Film Awards. The limousine slid to a stop, and for a fraction of a second, the world seemed to hold its breath. But what happened next was nothing short of shocking. As the door opened, Harry stepped out first, his polished shoes hitting the carpet with calculated precision. Meghan followed, every movement graceful, her gown cascading in perfect folds. They were supposed to glide into applause, smiles, and admiration. But instead, the air was filled with a low, buzzing murmur that quickly escalated into something far more sinister: boos. Not polite, accidental boos, but loud, deliberate expressions of disapproval. Voices shouted from behind the ropes, cutting through the flashbulbs and the carefully curated soundtrack of the night. Can you imagine it? A red carpet designed for celebration transformed instantly into a gauntlet of judgment. The crowd reaction was immediate, almost preternatural. People who had gathered to cheer their favorite stars instead voiced their contempt with an intensity that shocked even seasoned event planners. Whistles, laughter, and jeers echoed through the space, mixing with the frantic clicks of photographers capturing every moment. Harry's hand instinctively reached for Meghan's, guiding her gently through the chaos. His jaw was tight, eyes scanning the crowd, calculating the next move. Meghan's gaze flicked from one section of the audience to another, a mixture of calm and disbelief on her face. They had faced media storms before, but nothing like this. This was raw, real, and personal. Why did the audience react this way? Was it just a few dissenting voices amplified by microphones and cameras? Or was it a collective sentiment, years in the making? Harry and Meghan had always been polarizing figures. Their departure from royal duties, their interviews, their public statements, all had stoked both admiration and fury. But rarely had they faced such immediate and unfiltered disdain in a live, public setting. This was different. It was intimate, invasive, and broadcasted simultaneously to millions. The couple moved carefully along the carpet, each step measured, each smile precise. But the audience was relentless. Boos mingled with chants, some shouting words the microphones barely captured. Security personnel shifted uncomfortably, scanning for trouble. Yet, there was no physical threat. The danger was in the public scrutiny, the humiliation, the unrelenting spotlight that captured every tremor of doubt, every falter in composure. How does one maintain grace when the very environment is designed to tear it down? That's the question Harry and Meghan faced with every step. Photographers leaned in, capturing angles that told a story of tension rather than glamour. One shot showed Harry with his arm around Meghan, his posture rigid, almost defensive, as if bracing against the storm of disapproval. Another captured Meghan's expression, perfectly composed yet betraying a flicker of disbelief. Social media would later dissect these images frame by frame, turning them into viral evidence of a public spectacle. But in that moment, all that mattered was survival, navigating the gauntlet without faltering completely. There were moments of irony that added layers to the drama. Onlookers who had once cheered for royal appearances now seemed eager to assert disapproval. A few fans who had waited hours for a glimpse of the couple seemed torn between loyalty and judgment, their claps hesitant, drowned out by louder boos. Every flash from a camera seemed to highlight the contradiction, beauty and elegance under siege, admiration tempered with derision. The emotional tension was almost cinematic, a real-life story more dramatic than any scripted scene. And then came a moment that would be dissected endlessly. As Harry and Meghan approached a particularly crowded section of the carpet, someone shouted something audible across the velvet ropes, a taunt, a jeer, a phrase meant to sting. Meghan's eyes widened ever so slightly. Harry's head turned sharply, scanning the crowd, lips pressed together in tight lines. Security moved in subtly, placing themselves between the couple and the heckler. Cameras captured the split-second tension, Meghan's elegant poise, Harry's subtle protective gestures, the audience's gleeful anticipation. Social media would call this the moment the red carpet turned savage, but at that instant, it was nothing short of chaos. Audience behavior played a key role in the tension. People didn't just boo. They strategically positioned themselves, timed their shouts, and made gestures designed to provoke. Some were journalists, others fans, and some seemingly ordinary attendees who found themselves swept into the spectacle. The energy was almost contagious. Even those who wanted to stay neutral felt the pressure to react. In essence, the red carpet became a stage not for admiration, but for judgment, a live experiment in collective social behavior. Harry and Meghan continued forward, hand in hand, carefully navigating the line between composure and self-preservation. They knew the cameras captured everything. Every slight falter could be amplified, every moment misread. Meghan's smile, practiced yet elegant, masked the swirling mix of emotions beneath. Harry's posture, protective and slightly tense, conveyed awareness without panic. Yet, Despite their best efforts, the audience's disapproval seemed to tighten around them like a vice, unrelenting, precise, and inescapable. Let's consider the psychological weight of this. Imagine walking into an environment where every action is analyzed, every glance scrutinized, and every misstep amplified. How does one maintain confidence, poise, and dignity under such pressure? The tension was not only external. The couple's internal dialogue, their silent communication, was a critical battlefield. They had to read each other's cues, respond subtly to external stimuli, and remain media-ready, all while facing public condemnation. The human element of this moment, the emotional labor involved, is staggering when you think about it. And yet, there were moments that broke the tension, brief flashes of levity amidst the chaos. Meghan shared a subtle glance with a friendly photographer, a tiny smile that acknowledged the surrealism of the situation. Harry nodded to a passing event organizer, a silent agreement that they were surviving, maneuvering, and perhaps even mastering this dangerous dance. These moments were fleeting, almost invisible to the untrained eye, but they provided the couple with just enough composure to continue. Then came the moment no one saw coming. A loud, unmistakable heckle rose from the back of the audience, cutting through the flashes and whispers. The words themselves were inconsequential in isolation, but the reaction they triggered was extraordinary. The crowd seemed to feed off the energy, escalating in volume and intensity. Even seasoned security personnel shifted uneasily, and event organizers exchanged nervous glances. Cameras caught Harry stiffening, Meghan adjusting her posture, the couple's rhythm disrupted by the sudden surge of hostility. The narrative of elegance and celebration had been shattered. As they approached the official photo area, the drama intensified. Photographers jostled for positions, flashes blinding and constant, capturing every microexpression. Harry's jaw tightened, a subtle indicator of stress. Meghan's hand rested lightly on his arm, a gesture of reassurance. Yet the audience's energy continued to clash with their composure, creating an atmosphere almost tangible in its hostility. Every step forward was a small victory against the tide of public judgment. And here's the twist. Amidst the boos and jeers, a few loyal supporters made themselves visible, clapping, cheering, trying to counteract the negativity. Their voices, though drowned in the roar of disapproval, created an interesting dichotomy: loyalty versus contempt, support versus disdain. This tension would later fuel social media debates, viral videos, and endless speculation about public perception and influence. Finally, as the couple reached the end of the carpet, the cameras captured the moment that would define the evening. Harry and Meghan, poised but weary, facing a crowd that had turned the red carpet into a battlefield. The flashes continued, the boos subsided slightly but lingered, and the couple prepared to enter the venue itself. A sanctuary of controlled lighting, rehearsed speeches, and curated glamour. But stepping through the doors did not end the drama. Behind the walls of the venue, a new layer of chaos awaited, one that would push the evening to levels of intensity that no one expected. And just when it seemed the red carpet drama might finally settle, something happened that would set the tone for the rest of the night. A subtle exchange, almost invisible, between two audience members that escalated into a confrontation. Security noticed it immediately. Cameras didn't catch the initial movement, but those who were watching closely would see the ripple effect that spread across the room. The red carpet chaos was only the beginning. What happened next inside the Gotham Film Awards would be even more shocking, turning a night of supposed celebration into an unforgettable spectacle. The first step had been taken. The gauntlet had been navigated, but the consequences of that entrance, the looks, the whispers, the tensions, were far from over. What came next would expose conflicts, alliances, and reactions that nobody saw coming, even as the cameras captured every polished angle of the couple's faces. Imagine walking into a room, fully aware that the world is watching you. Every step, every gesture, every flicker of emotion is under scrutiny. Now imagine that the moment you arrive, instead of applause, the sound of hostility fills the air. That was the reality for Harry and Meghan at the 2025 Gotham Film Awards. What should have been a glamorous, celebrated entrance quickly spiraled into one of the most talked about public confrontations of the year. The boos began almost immediately after the couple stepped onto the carpet, low at first, like a ripple across a still pond. But ripples have a way of becoming waves. Within seconds, the murmurs escalated into loud, sharp jeers. Voices shouted from the velvet ropes, cutting through the flashbulbs and cameras like a knife. "What's happening?" some may have whispered. "Why is this happening?" the couple must have wondered. The answer was complex, an amalgamation of public sentiment, media narratives, and years of controversies that had followed them relentlessly. The audience's reaction wasn't uniform, and that made it even more dramatic. Some guests laughed openly, clapping sarcastically, as if the spectacle were a stage performance. Others murmured quietly, unsure whether to join in or remain neutral. But a significant portion of the crowd seemed calculated. The boos were just the beginning. Hecklers, emboldened by the collective energy of the crowd, began to shout more direct comments. Some remarks were mild, sarcastic jabs aimed at their public persona. Others were sharper, personal, and intentionally provocative. Security personnel moved subtly, positioning themselves between the couple and the most vocal audience members. But this wasn't about physical danger. It was about psychological warfare. Every jeer, every loud laugh, every whistle amplified the pressure, forcing the couple to navigate a gauntlet of emotion that few could endure. Let's pause to consider the power of collective behavior. When large groups of people react simultaneously, individual restraint often disappears. People shout, clap, or boo because others are doing the same. It becomes a feedback loop of emotional escalation. And that's exactly what happened at the Gotham Film Awards. The crowd fed off itself, escalating the volume, the intensity, the theatricality. Harry and Meghan, experienced though they were facing an environment that was almost impossible to control or predict. There were moments when the tension almost became surreal. A well-known actor, standing near the ropes, raised an eyebrow and smirked in the direction of the hecklers, almost as if acknowledging the absurdity of the situation. Another celebrity, seated slightly further back, gave a subtle nod to Harry, a silent gesture of support that was swallowed by the noise around them. These micro-moments, almost invisible to the cameras, added layers of complexity to the event. They revealed the duality of human behavior. The cruelty of some contrasted with the quiet loyalty of others. Social media, even before the couple had fully walked the carpet, was already alight with reactions. Clips of the initial boos were shared, remixed, and captioned across platforms. Some users expressed shock, others glee. Memes began to circulate, and hashtags predicting public humiliation trended within minutes. The digital echo amplified the real-time chaos, ensuring that the public spectacle was not confined to the venue. It spread globally, instantly. Harry and Meghan's entrance was no longer just a live moment. It had become a viral event, dissected, judged, and debated by millions who weren't even present. Amid the uproar, there were brief moments of calm, or at least the illusion of calm. Meghan's hand brushed against Harry's, a subtle gesture that conveyed both solidarity and reassurance. Harry nodded at a passing photographer, acknowledging the scrutiny while maintaining control over his own composure. These small acts, almost imperceptible, were critical in helping the couple navigate the chaos. But even as they maintained poise, the crowd's reaction continued to escalate. Every step forward was a negotiation, a battle between grace and the tidal wave of judgment pressing against them. And then there was the auditory element, something that cannot be fully captured by photos or video. The layered soundscape of boos, laughter, and shouts created a psychological pressure cooker. It's one thing to see disapproval. It's another to feel it, to hear it penetrate the carefully curated bubble of a public event. That tension reverberated through the couple, their entourage, and even the nearby celebrities who had not anticipated this level of hostility. The red carpet, in that instant, ceased to be a stage of celebration and transformed into a theater of judgment. The audience's behavior also reflected deeper societal dynamics. Some guests had long-standing opinions about the couple, shaped by years of media coverage, interviews, and documentaries. Others reacted to the spectacle itself, the thrill of public controversy, the chance to witness a live clash between fame and public sentiment. And then there were those whose motivations were strategic. influencers, journalists, and even other celebrities who recognized the power of documenting and amplifying the drama for their own platforms. The layers of motivation created an environment that was volatile, unpredictable, and emotionally charged. Despite the chaos, Harry and Meghan's demeanor remained largely composed. Their ability to absorb the disapproval without visibly breaking is a testament to their public experience and emotional resilience. Yet, beneath the surface, the tension was unmistakable. The couple's eyes flicked toward each other, their silent communication a subtle acknowledgement of the storm surrounding them. Meghan adjusted her posture slightly. Harry's hand remained firm yet protective. These small details, unnoticed by many, revealed the complexity of navigating public scrutiny while maintaining personal composure. And just when it seemed the boos had reached a plateau, the intensity surged again. A particularly loud heckle emerged from the back of the audience, targeting the couple directly. Security personnel shifted instantly, but it was clear there would be no physical resolution. The conflict was psychological, a confrontation waged through public judgment and amplified by the collective energy of the crowd. The cameras captured Harry's reaction, a subtle tightening of his jaw, a brief pause that conveyed awareness without panic. Meghan's eyes widened just slightly, the smallest indication of surprise before regaining her composure. Every movement, every micro-expression was cataloged, analyzed, and, eventually, shared globally. What made the situation even more extraordinary was the simultaneous presence of supporters. Amid the boos and jeers, a handful of fans and allies applauded, shouting words of encouragement. Their voices, though drowned out, introduced a fascinating dichotomy: loyalty versus contempt, support versus disapproval. The dynamic tension between these opposing forces created an atmosphere charged with emotion, anticipation, and unpredictability. Every moment became a question. How would Harry and Meghan respond? Could they maintain poise, or would the pressure finally break through? And then, the unexpected happened. A group of audience members, emboldened by the collective energy, began a coordinated series of chants, their voices rising in unison. The jeers grew sharper, the laughter more pointed. The couple paused momentarily, exchanging a glance that conveyed both understanding and resolve. Security shifted once more, subtly guiding them through the crowd. Cameras captured every angle, ensuring that these moments would live forever in the public record. The atmosphere was electric, almost theatrical in its intensity. By the time Harry and Meghan reached the official photo area, the crowd's reaction had reached a crescendo. The flashes, the shouts, the jeers, all combined into a maelstrom of energy that no one present would ever forget. The couple posed for photos, smiles intact but tinged with tension, each click of the camera a reminder of the gauntlet they had just navigated. Yet even as they posed, the reality was clear. The boos and heckles were far from over, and the audience's reaction was just the beginning of what would become one of the most analyzed public appearances in recent memory. But what came next would push the evening from chaos into an entirely new realm of spectacle. The audience's energy, the social media amplification, and the unseen dynamics behind the ropes were about to collide in ways that would redefine the narrative of the night. Harry and Meghan had survived the initial gauntlet, but the fallout, the deeper conflicts, and the hidden dramas lurking behind the cameras were waiting to explode. What happened next would shock everyone, and no one in that room, not even the security team, could have predicted it. Have you ever wondered what it's like behind the velvet ropes, away from the flashing cameras, when chaos erupts at a high-profile event? Most people see the glitz, the glamour, the perfectly poised photos, but the truth is far messier. For Harry and Meghan at the 2025 Gotham Film Awards, the chaos wasn't just in the audience. It was behind the scenes, hidden from public view, where panic, tension, and split-second decisions threatened to spiral out of control. The moment the boos and heckles escalated on the red carpet, the security team immediately recognized the gravity of the situation. This wasn't a standard VIP appearance where fans might reach out for autographs or a few photographers might jostle for position. This was psychological warfare, executed in real time, with every person in the audience capable of amplifying it. Security personnel shifted, forming a subtle but visible perimeter around Harry and Meghan. Their body language was controlled, professional, almost robotic, but the tension beneath the surface was palpable. Inside the security command area, monitors displayed multiple camera feeds, each capturing angles of the crowd, the red carpet, and surrounding spaces. Event security coordinators whispered into earpieces, their voices tight with urgency. Maintain perimeter. Watch for escalation. Keep them moving, one officer instructed. Every movement was calculated, every decision critical. One misstep could trigger panic, either from the audience or from the couple themselves. And in a room filled with celebrities, media, and cameras, even a minor incident could become global news in minutes. Security wasn't just about protecting bodies. It was about controlling narrative. Each flash of the camera, each visible reaction from the audience could fuel headlines, memes, and social media storms. The team knew that Harry and Meghan's every gesture would be scrutinized, dissected, and interpreted. Maintaining composure in front of the cameras wasn't enough. They also had to manage unseen threats, whispers from the crowd, shifting alliances among attendees, and the unpredictable human element that no amount of planning could fully contain. The complexity of the event was amplified by the dual pressures of protocol and public perception. Royal security is accustomed to dealing with crowds, protests, and unexpected incidents, but Hollywood operates on a different set of dynamics. Flashing cameras, overzealous fans, rival celebrities, and influencers with phones poised to capture every moment create a volatile mix. One security officer described it later as walking a tightrope over a pit of vipers. Every action had consequences, both immediate and viral. And then, the unexpected began. Despite their meticulous planning, certain audience members began to test boundaries. A cluster of hecklers shifted positions, positioning themselves near camera lines, amplifying their shouts. Another group began chanting phrases coordinated in rhythm, a deliberate attempt to disrupt the couple's composure. Security had to make split-second decisions, whether to intervene physically, redirect the couple, or rely on psychological strategies to diffuse tension. Each choice carried potential repercussions. The logistics behind the scenes were staggering. Personnel were stationed strategically along the red carpet, inside hallways, and at exits. They monitored every entrance point, every potential flash point. Radios buzzed constantly with updates, instructions, and warnings. An unseen tension gripped the control room as coordinators tried to anticipate every move, every reaction. One misjudgment. A crowd surge, a misinterpreted gesture, a poorly timed shout, could cascade into an uncontrollable situation. The team knew that the red carpet was only the first stage. What lay inside the venue could be exponentially more complex. Meanwhile, Harry and Meghan navigated the gauntlet with remarkable poise. Every subtle shift of their posture, every glance exchanged, was a silent dialogue with security. Their awareness of the threat was acute. They knew the cameras captured everything, but they also had to trust the team guiding them. It was a delicate balance, projecting elegance while relying on invisible protectors to manage chaos. The weight of that tension was immense, yet it was masked behind polished smiles and careful movements. Inside the security command room, officers noted small but significant developments. Certain attendees were acting unusually, moving deliberately in patterns that could provoke or escalate. Security analysts cross-referenced camera angles with social media live streams, anticipating the spread of real-time footage. The event's public relations team communicated with the security command, attempting to align strategy, maintain composure, ensure safety, and control optics. But even the best-laid plans were being tested by human unpredictability. Then came the subtle but pivotal moments, the micro-incidents that could spiral into major problems. A guest tried to step closer to the couple, perhaps seeking a photo or to engage in verbal confrontation. Security intercepted, guiding the individual away without creating a scene. A flashbulb exploded too close to Meghan's face, startling her momentarily. Harry's protective reflexes were immediate but restrained. Each small event required precise coordination and emotional control. A miscalculation could have led to panic, embarrassment, or even injury. And the digital element complicated everything further. Every camera, every flash, Every smartphone streaming live meant that the security team's actions were themselves under scrutiny. The balance between protection and visibility was delicate. Too much intervention could be interpreted as overreaction or weakness. Too little, and the couple would be exposed to humiliation or worse. Every decision was magnified in real time, amplified across social media, and dissected by millions of viewers worldwide. Despite all precautions, there were moments of human vulnerability. Security personnel experienced the same adrenaline spikes, the same fear, and the same tension as the couple they were protecting. Subtle cues, like shifting body language, whispered communications, and rapid glances between team members, revealed the immense pressure behind the polished exterior. This was not a simple escort. It was a complex operation of psychological management, crowd control, and real-time risk assessment. And then, the unforeseen occurred. A particularly vocal section of the audience began coordinating chants, escalating in volume and intensity. The energy shifted, and for a moment, even seasoned officers recognized the potential for the situation to spin beyond control. Radios crackled with urgent updates. One officer whispered, almost under his breath, "We may need to intervene physically if this escalates further." But physical intervention carried its own risks, and everyone in the command room knew that any misstep could instantly become headline news, viral footage, and fodder for global commentary. Yet, amidst all this tension, the couple maintained a remarkable facade. Their movement along the red carpet was deliberate, careful, and coordinated with the security team. Every step forward was a triumph over the mounting hostility. Every glance toward the audience was measured. Meghan's subtle nods and Harry's protective positioning were evidence of their training, experience, and resilience. But resilience is tested not just by external threats. It is tested by perception, by optics, and by the emotional energy radiating from thousands of people watching. And just when the security team thought they had managed the worst of it, another incident arose. A sudden surge of crowd movement, subtle but noticeable, rippled through the front rows. Whistles intensified. Shouts grew louder. The team's instincts kicked in. Harry and Meghan were guided slightly to the side. The perimeter tightened, and cameras captured the tension, unaware of the invisible choreography required to prevent escalation. The red carpet, in that instant, was not just a stage of celebrity. It had become a theater of crisis management, and every participant, from the couple to security personnel, was performing under pressure like never before. But what came next would change the stakes entirely. The chaos behind the scenes was escalating in ways that would ripple beyond security. Not just the immediate audience, but the digital world, media commentary, and even Hollywood insiders would soon weigh in, magnifying every whisper, every gesture, and every subtle interaction. The moment Harry and Meghan survived the initial wave of boos, they were about to face something far more unpredictable, something that would transform the Gotham Film Awards from a glamorous event into an unforgettable spectacle. Have you ever considered what it feels like to be under the scrutiny of thousands of lenses, all pointing at you at once? For Harry and Meghan at the 2025 Gotham Film Awards, the red carpet chaos wasn't just about the audience's boos and heckles. It was also a full-scale assault from the paparazzi, cameras snapping at every angle, every expression, every microgesture. The event had become a battlefield where optics mattered as much as security, where perception could outweigh reality, and where one misstep would be instantly immortalized. From the moment they stepped onto the red carpet, flashes exploded around them like tiny lightning bolts. Photographers jostled for position, elbows bumping, cameras swinging, each aiming for the perfect shot that could later dominate social media feeds or make tabloid headlines. But what made this coverage extraordinary was the context. It wasn't just celebrity photography. It was documentation of a confrontation. Every boo, every heckle, every subtle reaction was captured in high definition, preserving a narrative that the couple couldn't control. Harry and Meghan knew the power of the camera. They had navigated press scrutiny for years, balancing public appearances with personal privacy. But the Gotham Film Awards presented a perfect storm. The red carpet wasn't just crowded. It was strategically designed to maximize visibility, every camera angle planned to ensure coverage from multiple perspectives. What the couple likely didn't anticipate was how the hostile energy of the crowd would amplify the impact of every photograph. A forced smile, a subtle grimace, a slight hesitation. All became fodder for analysis, speculation, and online debate. The paparazzi didn't just capture moments, they shaped the narrative. One photographer leaned forward, capturing Meghan mid-step, her gaze flickering toward a heckler. Another focused on Harry, his jaw tense, his posture protective, every detail magnified by the lens. Each frame told a story, one of tension, of confrontation, of resilience under pressure. In some ways, the cameras were both a shield and a trap, capturing poise while exposing vulnerability, immortalizing strength while highlighting stress. And then there was the chaos of movement. Photographers elbowed and shifted to get closer, cameras swinging dangerously. Security personnel had to navigate not just the audience but this unpredictable, aggressive media presence. Every step the couple took required coordination. Meghan's gown trailed carefully behind her, but one misstep could have led to a tripping hazard or worse, an embarrassing photo. Harry's arm subtly guided her, both to shield and to maintain a controlled presentation. Each move was a delicate balance between personal safety and media optics. What made the paparazzi's presence even more intense was the immediacy of social media. Photos were transmitted in real time, shared on platforms worldwide, sometimes even before the couple reached the entrance to the main event. Within minutes, images of Harry's tense jaw or Meghan's subtle frown were circulating globally, with captions ranging from sympathetic to critical. The digital amplification meant that every minor detail was no longer private. It was public property, dissected and judged by millions. Some photographers, sensing the tension, began to take more daring shots. A zoom lens captured Meghan adjusting her posture in mid-step. Another focused on Harry's protective hand placement. These images, seemingly innocuous, became loaded with meaning. Public perception could read into them as gestures of control, defensiveness, or even vulnerability. Each frame became a fragment of a story that the couple didn't script, and the narrative took on a life of its own. Interestingly, the paparazzi themselves were actors in the drama. They fed off the audience's energy, positioning themselves to capture the most shocking angles, timing flashes to coincide with boos or jeers, ensuring that every photograph carried emotional weight. Some photographers even whispered to colleagues, noting particularly expressive moments or anticipating reactions. The red carpet had become a live theater of tension, with the cameras acting as both observers and amplifiers. But it wasn't just the traditional media. Smartphones, influencers, and online personalities added another layer of intensity. Attendees streamed live, capturing snippets of the confrontation, zooming in on expressions, highlighting moments of conflict. Social media users, thousands of miles away, reacted instantaneously. Comments ranged from outrage to amusement, from sympathy to ridicule. Harry and Meghan were no longer navigating a physical gauntlet. They were also facing a digital storm, where perception and narrative collided in real time. And yet, amidst all the chaos, there were moments of control. Harry and Meghan knew how to use the cameras to their advantage, subtly managing angles, adjusting posture, and communicating through glances. Their awareness of optics was extraordinary, a testament to years of public experience. But even the most seasoned public figures can't control everything. The cameras captured what they couldn't: nuances of tension, micro-expressions of surprise, moments of human emotion unmasked by the chaos around them. Then came an incident that would define the night in photographs. A group of photographers, eager to capture a dramatic reaction, leaned forward simultaneously as a heckler shouted. The flash synchronized perfectly with Meghan's slight pause and Harry's tightening grip. In that instant, the image captured was electric, a frozen moment of confrontation, tension, and composure under fire. Social media would later call it the iconic red carpet tension photo, a snapshot that summed up the entire spectacle in one frame. Meanwhile, security continued to coordinate with the photographers, trying to maintain safe distances while ensuring coverage remained orderly. They had to make instantaneous decisions: which lenses to block, which photographers to reposition, how to guide the couple without creating additional drama. The tension behind the scenes mirrored the chaos on the carpet, a synchronized effort to navigate unpredictability. And yet, the drama escalated further. Another camera caught a subtle interaction between Meghan and a nearby guest. What appeared to be a polite greeting was interpreted online as a tense confrontation. Comments and captions speculated endlessly, dissecting every movement. Every flash of light, every tilt of the head, every subtle gesture became evidence in the court of public opinion. The couple's carefully curated image collided head-on with the uncontrollable optics of the moment. Then, just when it seemed the paparazzi had captured all possible angles, an unexpected twist occurred. A drone camera, part of an official media team, hovered above the red carpet, capturing a bird's-eye perspective of the chaos. From this vantage point, the extent of the audience's boos and the scale of the confrontation were revealed in full. The images created a visual narrative that was impossible to ignore, an overwhelming majority reacting negatively, interspersed with pockets of support. The digital documentation ensured that the spectacle would be analyzed, debated, and dissected for days, weeks, and months to come. But what made this moment even more extraordinary was how Harry and Meghan responded. Despite the intensity of the flashes, the jeers, and the physical pressure of the crowd and cameras, they maintained a remarkable poise. Each subtle adjustment, each careful step, was a calculated move to manage perception while preserving personal dignity. Yet, even the most strategic public figures cannot anticipate every outcome. The cameras had captured everything, but the fallout, the whispers behind the scenes, and the social media storm were just beginning. As they finally approached the entrance to the main venue, the flashbulbs continued, the crowd continued to murmur, and the digital world continued to amplify every nuance. Harry and Meghan had survived the red carpet, but the night was far from over. The paparazzi may have captured the images, but what happened inside, and what would follow after the event, was something no lens could fully contain. And just when it seemed that the camera's relentless scrutiny might settle, a new twist emerged. A rogue photographer, ignoring protocol, attempted to get an ultra-close shot, creating a ripple effect among other photographers, security, and the couple themselves. The potential for escalation was immediate, and the tension inside the venue would soon reach levels nobody anticipated. What happened next would push the evening into a frenzy that few could imagine, and the images alone would not tell the full story. The red carpet is often a theater of glitz and glamour, but it's also a delicate social ecosystem where alliances, rivalries, and hidden agendas play out in real time. For Harry and Meghan at the 2025 Gotham Film Awards, this ecosystem was in full display. While the audience's boos and the paparazzi's flashes dominated the immediate drama, the reactions of fellow celebrities created an entirely new layer of tension, one that was invisible to the public at first, but would shape the narrative of the night and dominate headlines afterward. As Harry and Meghan navigated the gauntlet of the red carpet, they passed by dozens of A-list actors, directors, and producers. Some faces lit up with recognition, offering smiles, nods, or subtle gestures of support. Others were noticeably stiff, their expressions a mix of curiosity, judgment, and perhaps disapproval. Every glance, every tilt of the head, every fleeting expression was a potential signal, a silent communication in the complex social network of Hollywood. Consider the first micro-encounter. A well-known director, known for his outspoken commentary on celebrity behavior, raised an eyebrow at Harry's guarded posture. Was it amusement, critique, or simple observation? The ambiguity itself amplified tension. Meghan, sensing the scrutiny, subtly adjusted her posture and gave a polite nod. These tiny, almost imperceptible interactions became loaded with meaning, amplified by the flashing cameras and the crowd's charged energy. What might have been a neutral moment in another context became a symbolic exchange in the theater of public perception. Allies were crucial in this environment. A few celebrities, long rumored to have friendly ties with the couple, offered brief smiles or whispered greetings as they passed. These gestures were subtle but significant. They provided a psychological buffer, a reminder that not all eyes were hostile. Even a nod or a polite hello from the right person could ease tension just enough to maintain composure amid the storm. For Harry and Meghan, Each interaction was an exercise in microstrategy, balancing visibility, diplomacy, and emotional control. But just as quickly, adversaries made themselves known. Some guests, aware of the couple's polarizing status, made deliberate gestures, subtle expressions, or half-smiles that could be interpreted as passive-aggressive. Others whispered comments loud enough for cameras or nearby attendees to capture. These moments, while fleeting, carried immense weight. In Hollywood, optics matter as much as reality, and every gesture could be transformed into a headline, meme, or social media debate. The interplay between allies and adversaries created a web of tension that was nearly impossible to navigate gracefully. Social media added fuel to the fire. Observers live-streamed portions of the carpet, capturing every glance, every nod, every subtle reaction. Fans and critics alike dissected these exchanges frame by frame. "Did you see how she looked at him?" one commentator asked. "He barely acknowledged her," another opined. The digital audience transformed micro-interactions into magnified narratives, often assigning intentions or emotions that may not have existed. Harry and Meghan were effectively performing for multiple audiences simultaneously: the live crowd, the photographers, and millions of digital observers. The celebrity dynamics also reflected historical context. Many in attendance had followed the couple's public journey for years, from royal headlines to media appearances, controversies, and charity work. Pre-existing opinions inevitably shaped reactions. Allies were loyal not just out of friendship, but also shared history and alignment in values. Adversaries, conversely, leveraged the moment as an opportunity to assert status, broadcast personal opinions, or participate in the spectacle of public judgment. The red carpet became an arena for subtle power plays, rivalries, and alliances to be communicated without words. One particularly dramatic encounter occurred near the midpoint of the carpet. A celebrated actress, known for her bold statements in interviews, appeared to give a sharp, assessing glance toward Harry and Meghan. Some observers interpreted this as a sign of disapproval. Others suggested it was merely curiosity. Meghan's response, a brief, polite smile and slight nod, was instantly analyzed online. Was it diplomacy or defiance? The ambiguity itself fueled speculation, turning a brief moment into viral discussion. Every micro-expression was magnified, and even small gestures could shape the narrative in real time. Another subtle but critical element was the physical positioning of celebrities. In the crowded red carpet space, placement matters. Allies positioned themselves subtly near the couple, creating buffer zones that could protect against overly aggressive photographers or disruptive fans. Adversaries, on the other hand, strategically positioned themselves in sightlines, ensuring that cameras could capture potentially controversial interactions. The choreography of positioning was nearly invisible to the audience, but played a significant role in shaping both perception and safety. The presence of media-adjacent celebrities further complicated matters. Influencers, social media stars, and journalists mingled in the crowd, simultaneously observers and participants. Their cameras, phones, and live streams captured angles that traditional paparazzi could not. A subtle glance, a whispered comment, or a brief physical proximity could be amplified into a viral narrative within minutes. The couple's public image was no longer solely influenced by their immediate audience. It was being interpreted and reinterpreted across platforms, with every ally and adversary contributing to the evolving story. And then came the moments of human emotion beneath the veneer of composure. Allies occasionally whispered supportive words or gestures. "You've got this," "Stay calm," or "Ignore them." For a brief moment, these small affirmations allowed Harry and Meghan to release some tension, even as the surrounding chaos persisted. On the flip side, adversaries capitalized on micro-errors, an awkward pause, a brief glance, or a misstep, turning them into material for ridicule, commentary, or viral content. The couple was performing a delicate balancing act, acknowledging support while deflecting criticism, maintaining composure while navigating psychological pressure. The interplay of celebrity reactions also had emotional consequences. Public perception is often shaped not just by actions, but by the reactions of influential peers. When high-profile figures appeared critical or hostile, It sent a message to both the live audience and digital observers. Conversely, visible support from respected allies could mitigate some of the negative energy. Harry and Meghan were acutely aware of this, carefully managing interactions to protect both their personal dignity and public image. Then, just as it seemed the red carpet interactions had reached their peak, an unexpected confrontation unfolded. Two celebrities, long rumored to have a rivalry with Meghan, positioned themselves directly along the couple's path. Whispers erupted, cameras zoomed in, and the tension in the air became almost palpable. Meghan's composure was remarkable, but even the smallest micro-expression, a tightened jaw, a raised eyebrow, was captured and instantly amplified across social media. The allies nearby subtly intervened, creating a buffer, but the damage, or at least the perception of conflict, was already underway. This incident marked a turning point. It wasn't just the audience or the paparazzi influencing the narrative anymore. It was peer dynamics among the attendees themselves. Celebrity reactions had the power to shape headlines, memes, and public discourse, sometimes more effectively than the crowd's boos or the camera's flashes. Harry and Meghan had successfully navigated the initial chaos, but this new layer of social scrutiny presented a different kind of challenge. One that required finesse, awareness, and psychological resilience on an unprecedented scale. And just when it seemed that the couple had managed the complex web of allyship and rivalry, a subtle but significant development occurred. A whisper from a high-profile figure, audible just enough for nearby cameras to catch, hinted at an emerging scandal within the venue. The ripple effect of this statement would soon intersect with the audience's hostility, the paparazzi's frenzy, and the couple's carefully managed composure, setting the stage for an evening that would escalate beyond anyone's expectations. What came next would expose not just public judgment, but internal Hollywood politics, and it was about to unfold in real time before everyone's eyes. The moment had arrived. Harry and Meghan were approaching the main entrance of the Gotham Film Awards venue. After the red carpet gauntlet, the audience boos, the paparazzi frenzy, and the subtle celebrity maneuvers, they were stepping into the building where the true spectacle would unfold. But entrances are never just about passing through doors. For high-profile figures like them, every step inside is a calculated negotiation between perception, security, and emotional control. And on this night, the tension inside the venue was just as intense as what they had left outside. As they moved past the final line of photographers and the last wave of jeers, Meghan's heels clicked sharply against the polished marble floor. Each step sounded amplified in the echoing foyer, a metronome of poise under pressure. Harry's hand subtly guided her, providing physical reassurance but also projecting composure. It was a delicate choreography, the balance between moving swiftly enough to avoid lingering hostility and slow enough to appear unshaken, to exude grace under scrutiny. Inside, the first thing they noticed was the controlled environment, dim lighting, strategically placed media personnel, and the soft hum of anticipation from guests waiting beyond the entrance. The contrast between the chaos outside and the curated calm inside was stark. For a brief moment, it seemed like a reprieve. But as anyone who has navigated high-profile events knows, controlled tension is just as exhausting as overt chaos. Every eye inside was calculating, every whisper and gesture potentially loaded with meaning. Security personnel had shifted tactics the moment the couple entered the building. Outside, it had been a visible perimeter, subtle but firm. Inside, the strategy changed to controlled positioning. Officers flanked the corridor, eyes scanning, earpieces buzzing with constant updates. The goal was clear. Allow Harry and Meghan to proceed without drawing attention to protection measures, while simultaneously monitoring potential threats, disruptive guests, or media personnel attempting to get closer than protocol allowed. It was a high-stakes balancing act. The foyer was designed for spectacle, with crystal chandeliers reflecting light across polished floors, velvet ropes guiding guests along predetermined paths, and strategically placed cameras capturing angles for both live broadcast and social media streaming. Every element of the design ensured maximum visibility, yet also created potential choke points. Harry and Meghan had to navigate not just their physical path, but the psychological terrain, projecting elegance and control while subtly responding to the unseen pressures of crowd dynamics and media attention. The first wave of internal reactions was immediate. A few high-profile attendees, previously unseen from the red carpet, glanced in their direction, whispering to colleagues. Some faces lit up with curiosity or cautious approval. Others remained cold or neutral, a deliberate strategy to communicate disapproval without overt confrontation. These micro-expressions were captured by cameras stationed inside, ensuring that nothing would be missed or misinterpreted once it hit social media. Harry and Meghan were acutely aware of this dual layer of scrutiny, both live and digital. As they proceeded down the foyer, Meghan's gaze swept the room, noting strategic placements of guests, security personnel, and media. Her awareness was almost instinctive, developed over years of public appearances under intense scrutiny. Harry, equally experienced, maintained a calm demeanor, though subtle muscle contractions betrayed his alertness. They were walking a psychological tightrope, balancing poise, control, and responsiveness while navigating an environment engineered to magnify every minor reaction. Behind the scenes, staff coordinated with security and media teams, ensuring the path remained clear while subtly influencing guest behavior. Ushers redirected those attempting to step closer, while photographers were guided to maintain respectful distances. The coordination was nearly invisible to casual observers, but critical in maintaining order and preventing a breakdown of composure. Every whisper in an earpiece, every nod from a security officer, contributed to a highly choreographed sequence designed to keep chaos at bay. Yet even in this controlled environment, unexpected moments arose. A guest, attempting to appear casual, positioned themselves within an optimal camera angle, potentially risking an awkward interaction. Security intercepted with subtle gestures, gently redirecting the individual without creating further attention. Meghan, noticing the movement, adjusted her trajectory slightly, maintaining her elegant posture while subtly signaling acknowledgement of the minor disruption. Harry's protective instinct remained constant but measured, a visible assurance to Meghan that he had control of the situation.